Belichick's lost a step to me.
I'm not going to do this.
This is Anik Squared.
For many of us, even the voice of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, there's nothing like the National Football League. I'm ecstatic. It is episode 1, season 2. Anik Squared, we appreciate you all being with us. My name is Jason Anik, joined by my twin brother. I was going to call you my boy, but I know you don't like what I call you my boy. My twin brother, the lead play-by-play voice of UFC, the Octagon, Jon Anik. Before we get into the NFL, I won't even say National Football League because I know you don't like that either. Dude, what has the last 24, 28 hours of your life been like? Welcome to Australia.
Yeah, so we're here in Sydney, Australia. I just got off the plane a couple of hours ago. So it is Wednesday, September 6th in the morning here. You guys, of course, you and our producer, Cody Merrow, are taping Tuesday night in the States. But it is very exciting. Even though I am going to miss the entirety of week 1 on my plane back from UFC 293 to Los Angeles and eventually Las Vegas, everything in life is better when football is in season. I am a more patient parent. Overall, I just think parentally, I'm better with my children. There's just so much to look forward to. And as a daily sports gambler, as much as I love betting on Major League Baseball, there's nothing quite like when the NFL is in season. And we've got a lot of work to do today, but we're very thankful to be back for a second season. Back by popular demand, I'm not so sure, but Anik Squared live and ready to go here for the 2023 NFL season.
So we grew up on the NFL in Boston, Massachusetts. So this show really stems from our deep love and passion for football. So for us, really, this first episode, a little more extensive than the typical weekly episode you'll get on Anik Squared. We're going to get into some predictions for the season, going to get into some totals. But the show rolls on a week-to-week basis, just to let any of you know who didn't join us last year. Each week, we pick 5 games against the spread. We go head-to-head against each other, our ultimate goal being to narrow down our 5 selections. And I'm happy to say for the Westgate Las Vegas Super Contest, John, they trademarked Super Contest. I'll be happy to let you know. So we're going to get into that. That's going to be the meat and potatoes, us going head-to-head. But let's get into our season predictions right out of the gate, if you are ready, sir. Are you?
I am ready to go. But essentially, I just want to let our listeners know I have been participating in some form of this Westgate Super Contest or the Circuit Contest for the better part of a decade. I have never cashed, but this year just might be the year. Of course, you and I have a joint entry. We'll get into some of that stuff later, but eventually we will pare down our selections and settle on 5 each week, as you mentioned, and excited to get into that whole initiative. I believe it's the greatest way to challenge yourself as a pro football bettor than to enter into this contest with a bunch of men and women that have multiple entries that are probably sharper than we are when it comes to pro football handicapping. They probably have more time to devote to it than we do. So it's a great way to challenge yourself. And one of these years, I'm going to cash, man. I guarantee it.
Well, and you can't get your lips off of this contest, right? Yeah, you can have up to 7 entries. I'm trying to talk about our season show. You can't even stop talking about the contest. We have a lot to say about the contest. But first, tell me who your winner is in the American Football Conference, First Division AFC East, sir.
Yeah, so we're going to go through all of the division winners, conference winners, Super Bowl winners today, and we begin with the AFC East. And chalky selection for me, I'll go with the Buffalo Bills, plus 120 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now to win the AFC East. The Jets are plus 270. Miami Dolphins are plus 300. New England Patriots are plus 800. They have the hardest schedule in the NFL based upon projected season win totals. But I think it's going to be Buffalo. They went 13-3 last year. Obviously, they lost 1 game result-wise because of the DeMar Hamlin injury. I still believe these are the beasts of the East, the class of the AFC. And it is amazing to think that this team with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs under the watchful eye of Sean McDermott hasn't broken through and won the AFC yet. I'm not sure they're going to win the whole conference this year, but I feel pretty convicted in saying, with respect to the Jets and the Dolphins and the Pats, that the Buffalo Bills are going to run away with the AFC East, beginning with a big win in Week 1 against the New York Jets. I like Buffalo plus 120 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook to win the AFC East.
Good breakdown. I don't agree. I'm not so sure how watchful the eye is of Sean McDermott. I believe he'll be calling plays for the defense, but I'm going a different direction. You know, other than the Patriots, I really like all 3 teams in this division. I just believe the addition of Aaron Rodgers makes the Jets roster the best overall roster in the division. I love Robert Saleh's energy, his leadership, the whole aura around that guy I like. I may be drinking a little bit of the Hard Knocks Kool-Aid, perhaps. I do like the Bills. I like the Dolphins, perhaps both to make the postseason. I think the conference is super tough all around, but I think there's something special brewing in Jet Life Stadium. Did you hear Aaron Rodgers call it Jet Life Stadium? You probably didn't.
Gosh. No, I did not.
So anyway, I'm on the Jets.
Plane. I haven't heard anything that's been going on. I just went down to the lobby and I mentioned to somebody that I was going up to do an NFL podcast with my twin brother. And he said, did you hear the news about Travis Kelce hyperextending his knee? And maybe now he's questionable for Thursday. So, hey, whenever the information comes in, you let it seep through. And thankfully, I have a little bit more information when it comes to Kansas City and Detroit in week 1. But all systems go, my man.
We'll be interested to see if you have any action on Thursday night. All right, AFC West. I'm going to lead us off here. Not really much to talk about. To me, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Have to. Already a dynasty, in my opinion. I don't think the Raiders or Broncos are going to be good really at all. So to me, Kansas City Chiefs, AFC West, easy money.
So the LA Chargers have Kellen Moore calling the plays now for Justin Herbert. They are plus 290 to win the AFC West right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, but I'm with you. Kansas City minus 165. I actually think in terms of season wagers, there's some value on Kansas City minus 165. I think even with injuries, even with some of the uncertainty surrounding Chris Jones, and as we mentioned, Travis Kelce, that team is good, man. That team is loaded 1 through 45 on game day, and minus 165, all things considered in a weak division, relatively short price. So Kansas City minus 165, my prediction to win the AFC West.
Yeah, a couple chips. How much pressure? It takes a little pressure off when you got a couple chips. AFC North, lead us off.
All right, so the Cincinnati Bengals are favored plus 140. Baltimore Ravens are plus 235. I know you're picking the Fighting John Harbaughs to win the AFC North. Cleveland can be had at plus 400. I just don't see it. I like Baltimore plus 235. Oftentimes, this podcast last year dissolved into a Lamar Jackson love fest and maybe a Mac Jones hate fest at times. I just love a motivated Lamar Jackson. I certainly like the addition of Zay Flowers. And I do think this has been a relatively underachieving outfit in terms of the lack of Super Bowl championships compared to how good this roster has been. So Ravens plus 235. I think that's a great number, and I do believe that that while they'll get a fight from Cincinnati, I think Baltimore's going to win the AFC North.
Oh, dude, crushed it. Oh, I love it. I'm such a Lamar Jackson homer. I always pick the Ravens. This situation is going to be no different. I think this contract makes everything copacetic in Baltimore. I really do. I love Odell Beckham Jr. probably more than most. You mentioned Zay Flowers. They're always formidable on defense. Joe Burrow may be a little banged up. They've achieved a lot in Cincinnati early in Joe Burrow's career. And, maybe a little step back, perhaps. I do like the Browns with Deshaun Watson, full slate. But to me, ultimately, I think the Ravens have a very consistent regular season. I still think Joey B will be heard from in the postseason. But for me, AFC North, Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to take the next one
to the AFC South. Go ahead.
No, that's good. I'm going to lead us off on this one, if you don't mind. AFC South, pretty easy one for me. Jacksonville Jaguars. I still think the division's maybe a year away from being really competitive. I think Jaguars continue last year's momentum, 9-8. I think they're going to be strong. I look for them to win 10, 12 games. I know you're high on Calvin Ridley. I like slotting him next to Christian Kirk, who to me had a great year, big contract, but he delivered. I really like Jacksonville this year. Sorry to cut you off. I assume you're with me there.
Well, the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans reside in the AFC South. And as we begin the 2023 NFL season, those two outfits in Houston and Indianapolis are ubiquitously regarded as two of the worst teams in the NFL. So the Titans can be had at plus 350, but Ryan Tannehill and that whole quarterback room just gives me a little bit of pause. As much as I love Mike Vrabel, and actually I was able to shake his hand. What a bear mid on that guy. We had him at our UFC Fight Night in Nashville just a few weeks ago. But yes, it's Jacksonville minus 155 to win the AFC South every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Love the offense. Of course, you got Travis Etienne Jr., who will be back. Christian Kirk, as you mentioned, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram at the tight end spot. And it is year number 3 for Trevor Lawrence, popular pick preseason to be the most valuable player. I'm not necessarily sure that he's going to get that hardware at year's end, but yes, it is Jacksonville minus 155. And of all the divisions that we're predicting today, I had written down that was the easiest selection for me. We'll see if it bears fruit at season's end.
Good stuff there. When you're trying to pick these wild card slots, you would think getting an extra slot, 3 wild card teams would benefit you. I think it makes it harder to pick them if you want to know the truth. Settling on 2 is fine, but 3, there's a lot, potential to have 3 from one division make the postseason. So anyway, first wild card selection for Jon Anik is.
Well, I'm going to take the LA Chargers at minus 125. Again, the beauty of DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm not trying to be a promotional shill here, but they have so many damn options out there for you to bet on. It's almost intimidating at times, right? Compared to your local bookie that doesn't want to give you any propositions, right? Chargers minus 125 to make the playoffs right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm also going Cincinnati minus 255 for a slot because I did pick Baltimore to win the division. And then Miami Dolphins at minus 110. I think they'll get a wild card spot as well. But I think the value of those 3 selections, I just really like Justin Herbert, as you well know. I think Kellen Moore is going to add some deception into that offense a little bit. And I think if they can stay healthy, which is always a big if for Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and everybody else, I really like the Chargers minus 125 to hold down one of those AFC wild card slots.
Yeah, we tend to think alike a little bit as identical twins. The good news about our format when we go against the spread is we can't be on the same side at any point. But I am with you on the Bengals and the Chargers quickly. Bengals 12-4 last year, finished the season on an 8-game winning streak. I just think they find a way into the tournament. The Chargers, that defense is stacked. I mean, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack still has some juice. Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., J.C. Jackson back. I mean, they were my Super Bowl pick last year, the Chargers. Maybe I was a year early, but I'm still going with them. And then to me, because I went with the Jets to win the division, I have to put the Bills in the postseason. Can't ignore Josh Allen. I almost put the Dolphins in over the Bills, but this is kind of a default pick with the Buffalo Bills. I don't expect them to be world beaters, but I also don't expect them to have the pressure on them. Everyone anointed them last year, so I think there may be less pressure on them. Pretty similar wild card selections for us. Go ahead.
I would be very surprised if the Buffalo Bills don't make the playoffs. Now, health is wealth, of course, and were Josh Allen to go down due to injury, then all bets are off. But I feel like Buffalo is pretty safe. And then you start to look at that AFC East and you think to yourself, with respect to the New England Patriots, how do you get the Jets, Bills, and the Dolphins in the dance? I'm not sure you do. So we'll see. I do think Miami gets in, but I think Buffalo is going to join them.
So I'm going to get us started on the National Football Conference. We're going to start with the NFC East. Did you see the Eagles minus 135 today on DraftKings Sportsbook to win that? I mean, what am I missing here on the Eagles to win the division? Maybe I don't respect the Cowboys as much as the others, but I just love that number. So I expect the Giants to have a really good year. You always talk about head coach, quarterback. I'm kind of worried about Dallas, but the Eagles just too good. I played this as soon as I saw it. Eagles, NFC East, easy.
Dallas Cowboys are plus 195 to win the NFC East, right? So they are the second option, at least in terms of who is most favored, to Philadelphia, who is minus 135. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in football. I know that is on paper, and that is preseason. Jalen Hurts didn't play in the preseason. They have had some defensive turnover on that side of the ball, but I do like the young talent that they have brought in. Understanding fully that a third of these NFL rosters turn over every year, and understanding that the Eagles have that target on their back that maybe Buffalo had last season. Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles minus 135 to win the NFC East. I think that's a pretty safe bet. And, you're going to hear us talk a lot about Kellen Moore over the course of this year when we see what the Dallas offense does without him and what the LA Chargers offense does with him. But it seemed like Dallas didn't think that he was the key cog that maybe some of the experts out there did. So, we'll see what happens, but I do like Philadelphia to win that division.
I tell you what, man, respect. You got a little fire in your belly today, bro, with all that travel. Like, respect. You are rolling. Well done. I'm going to just let you keep rolling. NFC West, start us out.
Well, I see some value on the LA Rams at plus 1,000. That might sound crazy, but there are a lot of good athletes in that building and a lot of motivated athletes who certainly have been provided with a lot of bulletin board material when you look at them to be plus 1,000 to win a division just a couple years removed from winning a Super Bowl championship. All of that being said, I like the 49ers minus 190. Oftentimes my exercise in advance of a show like today is to go through depth charts, and that San Francisco depth chart will effectively blow you away. So chalky selection, 49ers minus 190, but I do believe in a broad scope, the LA Rams are going to have a better year than a lot of people expect. Plus 1,000 right now to win the division.
Yeah, I'll get in. I have some things to say about the Rams as well. I hear you. I mean, Cooper Kupp, though, on track to see a specialist about that hamstring. But talking this division, I mean, Cardinals are irrelevant. I don't see the Seahawks and Geno Smith having a great year at all. I think they could be a little bit disappointed moving forward there. But yeah, 49ers, I'm with you. I don't see how you don't go with them there. And I love me some Brock Purdy. I love the defense. And you said the roster, but I really think the NFC is two teams, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and then everybody else. So to me, NFC West, San Francisco. NFC North, I'm going to get us going. Detroit Lions, plus 140, which I like. They are the favorite, but at plus 140. I wanted to pick the Bears here. Was just in Chicago with my boy, UFC fighter Bilal Muhammad. Really wanted to pick the Bears here. Bears plus 380. I kind of like that. This division has some nice balance compared to some of the others in the NFL. I'm sure the Vikings would have something to say about this here. But many people think Jordan Love is ready. I'm not necessarily thinking he is. But I'm drinking that Dan Campbell blue Kool-Aid in Detroit. I do think they may lose week 1 to the Chiefs, but I think 10-7, 11-6 could get it done here. It's going to be the Lions to win the North.
Well, Jordan Love doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers, right? He could be Trent Dilfer, and this team could still realize postseason success. The defense is really strong. It's youthful. The Green Bay Packers right now on DraftKings Sportsbook are the longest shot to win the NFC North. But to your point, it's a tight division, so they're only plus 400. Lions, to your point, favored at plus 140. Packers' schedule is not particularly strong, 11th easiest in the NFL on paper. And I just think, and when we get into the weekly selections, you're going to hear me harken back to this. I think that's going to be a motivated locker room. Can you think about some of the conversations they have had about beginning life without Aaron Rodgers on the goddamn right foot? You don't think Matt LaFleur is going to be motivated beyond a shadow of a doubt? So I like Green Bay in a division in which they have historically dominated to get past some of these also-rans like the Detroit Lions, like the Minnesota Vikings. Green Bay Packers plus 400 to win the NFC North.
Love it. NFC South. This is the only non-favorite I'm going with in the NFC. It's the Atlanta Falcons plus 200 on DraftKings Sportsbook. It wouldn't surprise me if you join me there. So I told your buddy, your broadcast partner, Daniel Cormier in Boston last month, he's a Saints fan, really high on Derek Carr. Well, I'm not high on Derek Carr at all. But I don't know. I just think maybe a little change of scene for Derek Carr, maybe a little juice early on, but I just see it fading. I like Atlanta. I like the leadership. I like both Arthurs, owner, Blank, Coach Smith. I think Kyle Pitts bounced back. They've committed to Desmond Ridder. He can move a little bit. And Bijan Robinson, the 8th overall pick out of Texas, is all the rage. I'm excited to root for this team. The Patriots have become difficult for me to root for as time goes on. As a Boston guy, you can be sure I still root for them, but I don't mind rooting for the Dirty Birds. We have had some good experiences at the Super Bowl in Atlanta. Give me the Atlanta Falcons to win the South.
Yeah, I don't like this division, and I'm not going to lay chalk with Derek Carr. I'm not as down on him as you are necessarily, but I don't necessarily see him as the long-term answer at quarterback for New Orleans. So I am going to take the Carolina Panthers at plus 500 to win the NFC South. Bryce Young is the quarterback. He was the number 1 overall pick. Certainly you expect some growing pains, but how about the weaponry that they have brought in? DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, security blanket. They drafted Jonathan Mingo, signed Miles Sanders. Frank Reich's the head coach. At times, I have been bullish on him. At other times, he looks a little bit deer in headlights out there, but he can coach offense. There's no doubt about it. I like the home schedule, Jay. Home to the Texans, home to the Colts, home to the Packers. Panthers actually have the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL, and the division is full of a lot of teams that I don't think are going to make anything resembling headway in January. So maybe it's because I like the price, but I'll go Carolina Panthers plus 500 to shock the masses and win the NFC South.
I like it. Let's keep that boy healthy. All right, wild cards. I'm going to start us out. I know you like firing these quickly, but the Chicago Bears. I know they were 3-14 last year, but I think they make a quick turn there. I think they make the postseason. We talked about head coach, quarterback. For me, with Justin Fields, the element of anyone who watched Anik Squared last year, a quarterback that can move as we go into this era, to me is super, super essential. And I think Justin Fields is really going to take that next step. Him and DJ Moore working together, I just think they're going to make some magic. I love them in week 1 to win at home against the Packers. Give me the Bears' first wild card spot. Give me your first wild card.
So I like Dallas, minus 230. is a little chalky right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, but that's just a price on Dallas to make the playoffs. And I think even if they stub their toe at times, it just seems like no season is particularly clean in Dallas. But when I look at the balance of power in the NFC, don't tell me they're not one of the 7 best teams in the NFC. I think they could actually win the Super Bowl. So Dallas minus 230, I think they're going to get a wild card spot somehow, some way.
Yeah, good. I mean, I don't like the Cowboys at all this year, but I like the conference less. So I think even 9-8 could get them in. So I almost picked them by default to win the division. I almost went with Sean McVay's boys here, just like you said. I'm a little high. I like the Rams to sort of surprise some people, but the Dallas I also have as a wild card spot. My final wild card is the Minnesota Vikings. You know, I picked them to come out of the NFC last year. They faded away, but I don't think the loss of Dalvin Cook hurts them that much. Alexander Mattison is the real deal, and there's not that as much buzz about him as I thought there would be leading into the season. Justin Jefferson's still there, if I'm not mistaken. They got Kid Addison, the rookie. So I just think they find a way to win a lot of games. You know, I do have 3 teams in that conference with the Bears, Lions, and Vikings all making the postseason. But when you have 7 teams a conference making the postseason, I don't think that's a huge stretch. So give me the purple and yellow again. That's my final wildcard selection.
2 NFC wildcard selections. I like Detroit minus 165. I just think eventually they'll win enough games to get in, even if I'm not bullish about their chances in the division. And then I like the New York Giants at plus 160. I was certainly somebody who supported that Daniel Jones contract. I really like the offseason that they had in terms of some of the players they brought in. I thought they had a particularly good draft as well. I thought it fell well to them. They got a center. They got the kid out of Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt, to help bolster the wide receiver room. I like the New York Giants. I like the head coach, and plus 160 is a pretty good number as well. So perhaps my most reluctant selection of the 3 NFC wildcard entries, but I do think the New York Giants somehow, some way, find their way to the second season.
I love it. We can't get enough of Brian Daboll, huh? Nothing's going to change there. You ready to move on to the very important selections? Conferences, Super Bowl, you ready? Yeah. So how about the first Super Bowl in Las Vegas? How about that? I mean, can you imagine that weekend out there, going out there for the Super Bowl? So the Fertittas have that new Durango hotel. Nice, a little more lodging for the patrons coming out for the Super Bowl. So you think Dana White could maybe get a pay-per-view at T-Mobile on the Saturday night before that? Is that too much? Is that too much for Vegas to handle?
It's not too much for Las Vegas to handle. If any city is conditioned to handling massive live events on top of each other, it is absolutely right. Las Vegas, but there's no chance. Like if you're the UFC, you don't want that noise necessarily. I don't know. I mean, this is nothing more than speculation, but I just think there's way, way, way too much noise for the UFC to want that type of situation where you're doing a pay-per-view the night before the Super Bowl. Now, I've been wrong before, but I just don't see it.
Well, yeah, it's the first for everything, and it will be the first one in Vegas, which I love. I would like you to get us started, if you don't mind, on the National Football Conference. Who comes out of the NFC for you?
All right, so the Philadelphia Eagles right now are the overwhelming favorites to win the NFC, plus 250 on DraftKings Sportsbook, then followed by the 49ers, plus 380. I'm a little bit intrigued by my Green Bay Packers at 35-1 to win the NFC as a potential long shot, but I like Philadelphia plus 250. I honestly believe, Jay, that only injuries are going to stop this team. Perhaps that's simplistic in terms of my analysis, but I really like what they did in the draft to try to shore up some of those defensive holes. I love that offense. I like everything that this team potentially could do. And of the conference selections, this was certainly the easier of the two for me. Philadelphia Eagles plus 250 to win the NFC.
Yeah, and I started there because I knew that's where you were going. And I guess, gun to my head, I'd probably go Philadelphia, but I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers here. As I said, this conference is top heavy. You know, I think San Francisco's kind of frankly due almost. You know, they've been around so much. I actually think Jimmy Garoppolo truly being gone is a very good thing for this team. I love Brock Purdy. So poised. They are certainly deep. For me, ultimately, I wouldn't place a huge wager, but certainly a deep roster. I don't think their division's going to be anything. So I think potentially it could be an easier path potentially for San Francisco than Philadelphia, who certainly teams are going to be gunning for. So I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers to represent the National Football Conference in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's a lot harder on the AFC side, right? You have so many powerhouses or teams that we believe are powerhouses. And then you even have teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins for whom,
Yes.
if a lot of things go right, they could really do some things. But for me, I think you know which direction I'm going here with respect to the AFC favored Chiefs plus 330 right now. I like the Buffalo Bills at plus 500. And I just think eventually, and I know you don't love Sean
Again?
McDermott, I just think eventually this team is going to break through, right? I mean, is Josh Allen never going to play in a Super Bowl, right? So, yeah, perhaps it's fool's gold for me, but I'm going to go back with the Bills to win the AFC essentially every year that they enter the season with Josh Allen healthy until they actually get to the goddamn big game. Buffalo Bills plus 500. I think they represent the AFC in the Super Bowl come February.
All right. This guy loves the Bills. No tickets, though. I don't think you have any paper tickets on the Bills. So
No
my
future.
AFC champion. So I could pick Kansas City. I could pick Buffalo. I could pick Cincinnati, but I don't want to. I don't want I don't want it. I just see the perfect storm with the New York Jets. This is so eerily similar to me for when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. I just think this roster is stacked. Like, I think Sauce Gardner is like the best corner in the NFL. I think I got more to say on the Jets. I might save my fastball here, but coming out of the American Football Conference, give me the Jets, baby.
All right, and I guess that brings us to the Super Bowl champion. I had set up an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl, so I will take the Philadelphia Eagles plus 650 to hoist the Lombardi Trophy come February. They got there last year, and I think this year they actually get over the hump. All chips in the center of the table on Jalen Hurts. Congratulations on the new contract. And number 6, Devontae Smith, number 6 in your program, number 1 in your heart. I could go on and on about this team, honestly, on both sides of the ball. I like their special teams as well. I do think when push comes to shove, the Philadelphia Eagles will be your Super Bowl champions come February in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a little more to talk about with the Philadelphia Eagles on this first episode of Season 2, Anik Squared. Appreciate you all being with us. My Super Bowl champion. And I'm not blowing smoke. I've been prone to do some emotional hedging here and there. The New York Jets. I really think this is going to happen. I hope it doesn't, but I think it could. I talked about Sauce Gardner. Garrett Wilson, I just think this kid's the truth, man. I don't have to talk to you about their defense overall. I talked about Robert Saleh earlier. And, Nathaniel Hackett, anyone who wants to say anything about Nathaniel Hackett, if you've been watching Hard Knocks, anyone who doesn't think he's a good fit for the Jets offense and with Aaron Rodgers right now, I think you're wrong. So give me the Jets, Jets, 16-1. I think it's the perfect storm. I think they get it done and hoist it. 55th year anniversary, I believe, from Super Bowl III. Last time they won it. Give me the Jets.
Oh, man, that's going to be
like
a
that?
tough Monday morning for me if the Jets win the Super Bowl.
When they first signed Aaron Rodgers, I was kind of like, why is everyone anointing them? And then maybe it's Hard Knocks a little bit, but you and I said for many years being Patriots fans that Aaron Rodgers was the most talented quarterback we ever had seen, no matter how much Tom Brady had accomplished, correct?
Yep, you're anointing them now too, so we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway. So nobody loves future wagers more than we do. So let's move on to our next segment as we take a look at the road ahead presented by Toyo Tires. So we're going to start with you here, and we talked about the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm very anxious for you to talk to everybody as we move into the futures. We love these future bets. We love season win totals, but you were as bullish as I've ever seen you on a future leading into this season. So start us off.
So when we were in Las Vegas this summer, I believe for UFC 290, I wanted to shop a price on the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC, to repeat as NFC champions. And so I started this initiative at Circus Sportsbook in Las Vegas. And they had plus 340 for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC. So then I went on to my DraftKings Sportsbook app, and it was plus 250. And that is where the Eagles are right now, plus 250 to win the NFC. So I placed the largest bet of my life. $2,500. Normally I play like $50 a game, $100 a game. I actually asked my wife if I could do this, and she said no, but I fucking did it anyway, right? $2,500 on the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC, and it'll return north of $8,000 when it cashes, and I really believe it is going to. Now, we talked a little bit about the balance of power in the AFC versus the NFC, but this was me shopping a price, and as we talk about in fighting and in sports, you're betting the number, you're not betting the fighter, you're not betting the team, you're betting the number. And I don't know that you can find plus 340 right now in a lot of spots on Philadelphia to win the NFC. So that was my lone future ticket. Might be a little scratch on Buffalo before we get to the season opener, but I do feel like Philadelphia is the class of the NFC, and I was willing to back it up with my wallet.
I love it. Couldn't get enough of it. I went in a little bit of a different direction with my future. Really a long shot in a lot of ways. Listening to you talk about the Green Bay Packers, this is sort of a similar play there. So I bet the Steelers 45-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Now it's 50-1 on DraftKings right now. Really 45-1, 50-1 doesn't really make much of a difference. The Steelers are plus 125 to make the playoffs. So you're getting dog money even for them to punch their ticket. But they were 9-8 last year. Pickett was far better over the second half of the season. They were explosive on offense in the preseason, frankly. And I understand Kenny Pickett may be the fourth best quarterback in this division. But to me, George Pickens, who I know you love, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris in the backfield, and that defense, it's stacked. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt are leading the defense. I understand the AFC is stacked, but I just think something has to give. And I don't see great value on some of these favorites going and placing a ticket on Kansas City or Cincinnati to win the Super Bowl. I just don't see enough value at this stage. I may be looking to bet on one of those teams when they lose a couple games. The Bengals last year, I picked them not to make the playoffs because I thought they were going to struggle early. They did go 0-2, if I'm not mistaken, but they still certainly found their way. Either way, that's where I'm going with that. So Steelers 45-1. It is what it is. A lot of value. What do you think of that?
Well, I like Mike Tomlin, as a unifier of men and a driving force in that locker room, right? It's very difficult. And Christian Fourier, former New England Patriots tight end, used to talk about this, the challenges for Bill Belichick of relating to the 22-year-olds, but also the 36-year-olds. And I'm not sure that anybody does it better than Mike Tomlin, but no, I mean, there's a reason they're 45-1. So I don't love it, but I understand why you saw some value.
No, that's a good point. All right, season wins. I don't know if you have any, but I got two for you, so I'm going to start you out. You know me, nothing I hate more than betting an under. I don't bet under, so I got two overs for you, which shouldn't surprise you. So I don't love the juice here at minus 130, but I have the Bears at over 7.5 wins. And when it's a 17-game season, that 7.5 wins maybe gets me a little juicy. But that's 8-9. I think they can do that. I think they can threaten the Lions for the division. You are ad nauseum telling me about head coach quarterback. I really like Nate Eberflus as a leader of men. I like him a lot more than I like Matt Nagy. I've talked to you about Justin Fields. So to me, over 7.5 wins. And I know we haven't talked much about the Patriots here, but I don't mean any disrespect, but I don't like their quarterback or their head coach. Hence, they're irrelevant right now.
I'm not going to sit here for another season and have you lambaste Bill Belichick, however softly or vaguely, or because yes, he made a wayward decision to allow Matt Patricia to call plays last year, right? But there were also pockets of that season that were overachieving. I think you just have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm honestly I'm not trying to do this for content, right? I'm not going to sit here. I'm in Sydney, Australia, getting ready to call a pay-per-view. I'm not going to sit here all season and deal with the Belichick venom, right? Because he is the consensus greatest football coach of all time. And you're putting him in the same conversation with Mac Jones. I don't like the head coach. I don't like the quarterback. Well, he's done a lot of things. He's won 6 Super Bowls.
And I'm glad you're fired up, but that's the only thing in my entire script on the Patriots because they're irrelevant.
So you think Belichick has lost his fastball and I just don't like him. I don't like him picking the groceries. I'm sure he can coach defense, but I don't like him handling personnel. Anyway, moving on. Season wins. I got one more. Yeah. You got any? I have one. So I played this on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's minus 150, right? And so that's the type of price next to a season win total that a lot of people would say is price prohibitive for me. But it's the Buffalo Bills, over 10.5 wins. If Josh Allen gets hurt, all bets are off. But you tell me this team can't go at least 11-6. When you dive into the schedule, it is tough. There's no doubt about it. They have the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back in November and December. There is a bye week in between, which I think is helpful. But, I think Buffalo can spit up all over itself and win 9 or 10 games. So the Buffalo Bills, I think they go 13-4. But I certainly like them to go over 10.5 wins. And I think that opinion sort of dovetails with all of my steam on Buffalo heading into the 2023 NFL season.
Yeah, I don't like the juice, but 11-6 isn't. I would think Josh Allen hopes to do better than 11-6, so I kind of like that. My final one, Giants. A lot of Jets on my mind. Giants over 7.5 wins, even money, which I like. Again, head coach, quarterback. Dable's just so intense the way he leads, the way he aggressively pushed Daniel Jones and then rewards him with a contract. I think we're going to see a more relaxed Daniel Jones. I don't necessarily think they're going to be anything special, but they did win a playoff game last year. Saquon Barkley still has some things to prove, but to me, again, it's like, can they go 8-9? I think they can. So to me, G-Men over 7.5. I bet you like that.
I do. And real quick, before we get into the super contest stuff, in terms of rewarding Daniel Jones with that contract, you just got to keep in mind that this is also a pretty team-friendly deal as well. Josh McDaniels and the new regime with the Raiders, they gave Derek Carr a 2-year deal, knowing full well that he was only going to be a short-term answer. So I do think that for Brian Dable, the jury is still out on Daniel Jones, but they absolutely think they can win with him. He can make plays with his feet. I certainly think that last year was a step in the right direction in terms of his turnovers being down. So, yeah, we both like the New York Giants, but I don't think we should read too much into that contract, as undeniably he's the long-term answer in New York.
Josh McDaniels. Yikes. You mentioned Josh McDaniels. Yikes. You were traveling all day. Chandler Jones banging, trying to get into the facility, going to the gym on his own, saying he wants to play for another GM and coach. Josh McDaniels, yikes in Denver, yikes again. Like, I wish them all the luck. I love Jimmy G, but I wish them all the luck. Anyway, that was The Road Ahead presented by Toyo Tires. Special thank you and shout out to our great partners at Toyo Tires. So the NFL season is officially here, and our Sundays are about to be all ours again, parked in front of the TV, completely locked into all things pro football. We at Anik Squared are happy to announce that we have partnered with our title sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the National Football League, to bring all new customers an exciting way to join on the action right now. New customers, download the DraftKings app, use our promo code SQUARED, that is SQUARED, squared, bet just $5, and boom, $200 in bonus bets hit your account instantly. So don't wait any longer, get some skin in the game, and download the DraftKings app now. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets together from the same game for a shot at an even bigger payout. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, bet just $5 on any wager, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code SQUARED, only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Nicely done. That promo code is SQUARED, SQUARED. And how nice is this for me? As the longtime host of the Anik and Florian podcast, we're coming up to our 9-year anniversary. And my guy, Ken Flo, won't read any commercial spots. So to be able to sit back and listen to you deliver a DraftKings Sportsbook commercial spot, I love it.
I got you.
Absolutely love it.
And for me to be able to drive the bus for you a little bit, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm underslept. I don't even know what continent I'm on right now. But we're ready to go.
Let's go.
All right.
So as I said off the top, this is the meat and potatoes. So each week on Anik Squared, we will pick 5 games against the spread and go head-to-head against each other. Stakes and punishment to be determined, by the way. We got to determine some stakes.
You're going to shave your head if you lose or no?
It's funny. So for those of you who don't know, I just recently did my first live commentating for the Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship APFC. And my wife picked me up from the airport. Come on. My wife picked me up from the airport. And as soon as I got in the car, she looked at me. She looked at my hair. She said, "It's time. It's time." So I think she wants it.
It's time to get your haircut.
So anyway, one important rule for the Anik Squared head-to-head competition: we cannot be on the same side of a game. So, and we're not letting either one of us, we don't know what we're picking. So if I pick a game right now against the spread that John has in his original 5, he needs to find an alternate selection. Right. Our ultimate goal of selecting these 5 is to narrow down our 5 selections for the Super Contest, the Westgate Las Vegas Super Contest. And I want to tell you all a little bit about the Super Contest because you still have until Saturday the 9th at 3 p.m. to get into this thing. So the entry fee is $1,000 and you pick 5 games every week against the spread. There's also 11 in-season contests that have different time periods. So there's bonus cash awards depending on different time frames. But it's, as John said earlier, it's the greatest things we have ever done. The contestant who correctly earns the most points, meaning picks the most games correctly, for the entire pro football season will be declared the champion and collect over $1 million. Wouldn't that be nice? But this contest is the shit. Anyway, I'm going to quickly recap 2022, and then we'll have you start us on our first selection because you've certainly had less time to prep this thing. By the way, that DraftKings Sportsbook, you realize you can bet on any game against the spread all 18 weeks of the season?
Right now?
Right now?
Do that?
Yeah, go pluck week 16. It's insane. So last year in the contest, we finished 10 games over 500, which is not bad. Highlight, we did go 5-0 in week 17. Our high watermark for the year was 13 games over 500. Finished in the top 25%, but none of it good enough. Didn't get paid. None of the opportunities to get paid, we didn't get paid. So, right. But even if you don't win the million, you can make 100,000 winning one of these time frames. So I'm excited, but this begins the seasonal portion of us going head to head. Jon Anik, first selection.
And one thing I just want to say off the top, when we reconnect for week 2, when I am back in the States, we will let you guys know which 5 games we settled on in the Super Contest, and we will update those standings as to how we are doing on a week-to-week basis. But obviously, when we do Anik Squared for you, we are not announcing what our 5 selections are going to be. This is our process to pare it down to those final 5. All right. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs -5 on Thursday night in the opener against the Detroit Lions. This number was 6.5. It has moved to 5 because Travis Kelce may not play after hyperextending his knee midweek during practice. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have been absolutely unstoppable for most of their time together. But when they have extra time to prepare, it's game over. I think they put up a 35-burger here. I'm not sure the Lions are going to be able to keep up. I do like this Detroit Lions team. I thought it was a curious decision by the NFL, giving them this opportunity to face Kansas City in week 1. I'm excited to see what they can do with it, but I just do not see the Detroit Lions going in there and starting the season 1-0. So Chiefs -5 makes my card for week 1.
I like it. And depending on when this episode airs, people may be watching you at 0-1 right out the gate, which we will take. My first selection, which shouldn't surprise many, is the Bears -1 at home versus the Packers. I know you expect the Packers to perhaps compete for a Super Bowl. I don't. I like the Bears at home. I still think Jordan Love needs more experience. I think it's going to be a hostile environment there at Soldier Field. I talked about DJ Moore, Justin Fields. Give me the small number with the Bears at Soldier Field, celebrating the 100th anniversary in 2024 at Soldier Field. How about that? Open 1924. That's pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah, DJ Moore scares the hell out of me, and I do think that is going to be a particularly festive week 1 environment. But Packers +1 at Chicago makes my card for week 1. Matt LaFleur has won 8 straight games against the Bears. Green Bay defense, I expect to take a step up this year. I'm on the Jordan Love bandwagon. I think that the jury is very much still out. He has a ton to prove, but it's not as though he hasn't been in that building for 4 years. I just really am excited to see what this coaching staff can do with this locker room in terms of their motivation to be better than the Jets, to be better than Aaron Rodgers, and to be better than a division that they have historically dominated. Packers +1 at Chicago. I think Green Bay begins the season 1-0.
You do a pretty good job selling me. I'm not going to lie. Pretty good stuff there out of you. My second selection, and keep in mind, we're not going to go in chronological order because we want to go with it. I'm going to get in, like I'm on the Monday night game here, and I want to get it in to make sure that you don't. But I frankly know that you're not going the same way I am. I'm taking the Jets. I'm all in. Give me the Jets +2.5 Monday night hosting the Bills. So it'll be MetLife Stadium for the Giants on Sunday night, but JetLife Stadium Monday night, just like Aaron Rodgers said. I just think the momentum of the offseason is going to carry them through a week 1 win. The Bills and Josh Allen may shut me up, but this is just more of a play on the Jets than against the Bills. Give me the Jets +2.5 Monday night under the lights.
Well, and it seems like not unlike your Chicago selection, you're putting some of your stock in what was a great offseason and then opening at home and just not laying an egg. One thing I do want to point out in terms of some of these seasonal futures. So the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets on Monday night in week 1 was the last game that did not make my card. I do like Buffalo short price in week 1. But if you like Buffalo in a future situation, maybe you want to wait for week 1 to expire, because if Buffalo loses to the Jets in week 1, all of those prices on the Buffalo futures to win the AFC East, to win the AFC, to win the Super Bowl, those are all going to go up. And similarly, I would suggest that there are easier opening assignments for the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts than to go to Foxborough and to take on Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Jalen Hurts has never gone against a Belichick-led defense. He didn't play in the preseason, right? So You know how excited I am for Philadelphia. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl and all of that stuff. But, part of me thought maybe I could get a better price if I just wait for week 1 to evaporate, because I think there's a chance the Patriots win that game. That being said, let me get to my third selection if I could. We're going with the Jacksonville Jaguars -5 at Indianapolis. And if you believe as strongly in the Jags as I do, you just can't shy away from laying these points in week 1. I expect the Colts to have a lot of growing pains, especially early on this season. I like Anthony Richardson, but sure as fuck would be nice to be able to turn around and hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor in week 1. I just don't think many defensive units are actually going to consistently be able to stop the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, and I think they win by a touchdown or more in week 1. I'll keep it simple here. Jacksonville -5 at Indianapolis.
I like it. So far you got KC -5. Who's the second one?
Green Bay +1.
Oh, I like it. Okay, Green Bay +1 going against me, and then Jacksonville -5. My third selection, very curious if you like this one or not. Vikings -6 hosting the Buccaneers. I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans wants a new contract. I think the Bucs go in the tank this year. And I think the Vikings need to get off to a strong start, even if the Lions go 0-1. The Lions are all the rage. And I think, I think you need to pounce on the Bucs at home. It's a great opportunity to sort of maybe get one up on the division. I like to look for the blowout on the board in the NFL, or, each week there's going to be at least one. I think this may be one of those blowouts. I like the Vikings -6 versus the Bucs.
All right, next selection for me is going to be the Bengals -2.5 at the Cleveland Browns. Will Joe Burrow play? I don't know the answer to that. He is 1-4 against Cleveland lifetime, and you got to think that fact is not lost on him. If Joe Burrow was 100% healthy, what do you think the line is here? I would say at least 3, if not 3.5. There's a chance, I suppose, that he doesn't play. As such, maybe some value on the Cincinnati side if he does. Bengals start with a divisional road win here at Cleveland in week 1. Bengals -2.5 makes my card.
The selection doesn't surprise me, but you do like Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Typically.
I even like his backup, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the hyphen.
Yeah.
But no, I like Cincinnati. I think they're one of the best teams in the AFC. And if Joe Burrow doesn't play, who knows where that number is going to close. But if he does, I think it's 3 or more. So Bengals -2.5 for me, kid.
I like it. That was one of my alternate selections, for what it's worth. My fourth selection, Sunday night, MetLife Stadium, Giants +3 versus the Cowboys. Home dog. Certainly think the head coaching matchup favors the Giants. I expect a close game. So Dallas has beat the Giants 4 straight. That's not lost on me. I'm sure that's not lost on Brian Daboll. I'm sure he's made all them boys aware of that. I think the Giants have a great chance to win the game outright. Dak Prescott scares me. I don't like betting on him. I don't really like betting against him, though, because I'm sure the rumblings about Jerry Jones perhaps being interested in drafting your boy in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. Certainly, I'm sure that wasn't welcome to Dak's ears in the offseason, but I like the Giants +3 at home. I can't wait to look at Brian Daboll on the sideline. I hope he hasn't lost any weight in the offseason, because I like looking at that Joey. Fourth selection, Giants +3 Sunday night.
Yeah, I really like New York's offseason, as I mentioned. I think they're just going to be a more consistent outfit this year overall. The offense dealt with a lot of injuries over the last couple years. I would also point out to Giants backers, 2 of their last 3 games are against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they don't have to play Philadelphia until pretty late in the season. I did have the Giants +3 home to the Cowboys on my card, but since we cannot land on the same game, I'm going to pivot to my alternate selection, which is Sean Payton and the Broncos winning his debut home to the Raiders. Broncos -4. Now, I don't like Russell Wilson. I think the regression is real, and I'm not sure even the mastermind that is Sean Payton is necessarily going to be able to resuscitate him. This is more of a Raiders fade than it is a Broncos back. So in the thin air at Mile High, give me the Broncos -4 to beat the Raiders in week 1.
I really think Sean Payton opening his mouth about Nathaniel Hackett has come back to bite them. That karma is a bitch, man. And I don't, sometimes I don't like all of those rumblings. And, there's definitely rumors that he's not that high on Russell Wilson. I think Jarrett Stidham, a lot of these guys who the Patriots drafted back in the day haven't had a lot of chance. I'd rather have Jarrett Stidham leading my football club in New England than Mac Jones. But I don't know about the Broncos, man. I think things might get a little dicey before they turn around there. My final selection, Dolphins +3 at the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert. I like the talent, but I like Mike McDaniels as much as any head coach in the NFL. I just think this is going to be one of the games of the week. I certainly think Miami could win the game. I just kind of like the points there. The Chargers always sort of I don't like betting on the Chargers. I love the team. I certainly expect them to make the playoffs, and I didn't pick the Dolphins to make the playoffs, but I think the Dolphins will be ready. Tua is healthy week 1, and I love this roster in Miami, and I love the leadership. So give me the Dolphins as my final selection for week 1.
This will be the first season in a long time where I don't do one of those pools in which I pick every game against the spread. And part of the reason is games like this. Dolphins +3 at Chargers. I just have absolutely no idea. I can tell you there's no S on McDaniel, but I do like him as well. Have you seen some of the videos of this dude like listening to hip hop? Mike McDaniel, what a stud. What
He's
a
the man.
stud.
I didn't throw an S on there.
All right, we'll see. Let the record show. Let the record show.
The record will show. Mike McDaniel, maybe a little slur. Get out of here. Anyway. So I'm sure you're aware the Patriots are honoring Tom Brady in New England this Sunday. You're aware of that. They have not confirmed yet if they are raising the number 12. You got to think that's part of this, and they don't want to tell people they are. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever going to wear the number 12 again. I don't have to tell most of this audience that
that's
NFL...
not the point, though.
What are you asking me? If they're going to fucking put his number 12 on the building this weekend?
Yep.
I would say yes, they will.
Okay, good. And if they do that, I mean, how many? You got to think 100 former teammates. I mean, how many former guys? Certainly, Julian Edelman will be there. Just can't get enough of it. But hey,
well, I don't think whether they retire his number or not, it's Tom Brady night. JE11's going to be in the building. They're going to blow it out. But I don't know. I haven't given it much thought.
But my point is the way numbers are retired in the NFL, if they were to do it in week 1 following his final game, I think that would be incredible. So I'm very much hoping that they do.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, anyway, let me know how it all goes because I will be on a metal tube from Sydney to LA when all of this is happening.
Fascinating. Gives me a leg up. I think I had a leg up going in last year as well. Anyway, episode 1, season 2, Anik Squared in the books. Thank you to our sponsors, DraftKings, Toyo Tires. We'll be back next week to break down week 1, pick week 2 of the NFL, and probably go at each other a bit, which we sort of save till the end. But for our talented producer, Cody Merrow, and my brother, Jon Anik, I am Jason Anik. We will see you next week on Anik Squared. Thank you all for being a part.